I can't say there is closure yet because they haven't actually been sentenced. That's the day we'll see closure.
A husband and wife charged in connection to the death of an Elkhart family out for ice cream. It is a major breakthrough in a case that we've been following now for nearly 4 months. We begin with ABC 57 News breaking news coverage in Elkhart. The family, who had 3 loved ones stolen from them in a deadly hit and run, is one step closer to justice. The prosecutor's office laid out the charges for the alleged driver Penelope Grossweiler and her husband Leonard. ABC 57 News has live team coverage covering this case from every angle as the community continues to mourn the senseless loss of the 3 victims. ABC 57 Sarah Vest, Haley Fixler, and Deanna Gutierrez, they are all standing by in Elkhart. But we start with my co-anchor Colleen Borman live at the county prosecutor's office. Colleen, you attended today's press conference listening to every single word. Let's lay out the very latest at 5.
Yeah, the very latest here at 5, Brian. We know that on August 26, 2017, today, prosecutor Vicki Becker said the community suffered a tragedy. We talked about the 3 family members that were killed in this hit and run about 4 months ago. Well, we're learning more about the investigation, and today we know that formal charges have been filed against 2 people, Penelope Grossweiler and Leonard Grossweiler. Of course, we're learning more about this investigation, what went into it. We're learning more about who was involved in the investigation as well. So right now, let's go to ABC 57's Deanna Gutierrez. She was at the press conference with me, and she has more details about what information we learned today. Deanna?
That's right, Colleen. We're nearly after 4 months of not knowing who was behind the wheel during this deadly hit-and-run accident in Elkhart. Prosecutor Vicki Becker says that she has filed criminal charges against the alleged driver, 40-year-old Penelope Grossweiler, and her husband, 42-year-old Leonard Grossweiler.
We really should first start with the undeniable fact that our community suffered a terrible, terrible tragedy.
Prosecutor Vicki Becker stated the 2 individuals charged in Elkhart's fatal hit-and-run were linked to the crime scene thanks to cellular and internet records.
These records provided significant evidence in documenting that both Leonard and Penelope's cellular telephones were traveling down Beardsley Avenue at the time of the crash.
On August 26, 22-year-old Sean Wilcott, 8-month-old Dolly Smith, and 11-year-old Courtney Smith were killed after a hit-and-run. 22-year-old Bradley Smith and Allison Smith were also injured as a result.
These criminal charges were filed against Penelope Grossweiler, age 40, of Elkhart, and Leonard Grossweiler, age 42, of Elkhart.
For Penelope, those charges include 3 counts of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, 1 count of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in serious bodily injury, 1 count of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in injury, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. Leonard is charged with 1 count of obstruction of justice, a level 6 felony.
This alleges that he attempted to hide evidence of Penelope's crime.
Becker adds 2 witnesses identified the driver of the vehicle as a female, and since this case has been heavily talked on social media, Becker wants to make sure everyone knows they will only include evidence admissible in court.
And let me be crystal clear. This case will not be tried on Facebook. It will not be tried in the media, tried in anything other than a court of law. The case will
Now, both charged individuals will remain innocent until proven guilty, but prosecutor Vicki Becker says Penelope gave inconsistent statements about what actually happened that night. Now, coming up all new on ABC 57 News at 6, I'll be talking a little bit more about what happened to that vehicle that was found at Yellow Dog Extrusions days after the fatal accident. I'm live in Elkhart. Deanna Gutierrez, ABC 57 News.
And right now, I am joined by the Elkhart County Prosecuting Attorney Vicki Becker. We want to thank you for your time. She's hosted the press conference earlier today. Now, the one thing we want to know are your thoughts on all the developments that were laid out today. A lot of new information laid out.
There is a lot of new information. Of course, this case has been progressing for quite some time. There has been a significant amount of investigation that has been going into this. And although we were in receipt of a great deal of information that continued to build on itself, obviously today was the culmination of all of that investigation and the corroboration and contradiction of some things that enabled us to be able to go ahead and go forward.
And you really made a point to thank Elkhart PD for their help in this investigation. But you also talked about how they had a lot of distractions along the way. You wanted to stress this case, of course, will not be tried on Facebook. A lot of public input on this case. How did that play into everything?
You know, while we really do appreciate the public assistance every time they would contact the police department with legitimate leads and with information, it truly did help. The problem was there's so many people that are commenting on social media, especially Facebook, and it has no part. It has no business distracting this investigation, providing inaccurate and sometimes even false and information that's just very hateful. Supposing or making accusations when none of it is accurate and it's not based on fact. So that does cause distractions in the investigation. It causes the investigators to have to follow up on all of that pieces of information to make sure they're being complete. But the biggest problem is when it turns out that it's done for emotional reasons or it's done for spiteful reasons, then it just demonstrates, quite frankly, the lack of information and the ignorance that's being put forward out there to the community.
Does that actually delay the investigation as well?
It does. The more that investigators have to put into tracking down information that's based on spite or speculation, then the less attention they can give to the pieces of evidence that are truly credible.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, where are we right now? What's next in this investigation? What can we expect?
Next, we wait until the warrants have been served and Mr. and Mrs. Grossweiler are brought into court so that they can have their initial hearing. At the initial hearing, they will be advised formally of the charges against them, what maximum and minimum penalties are, any deadlines in the case, and an opportunity to, be given additional information about the case.
All right, I want to thank you so much for your time. Of course, we will continue to follow this story as new information seems to be coming in just every few minutes.